Welcome to Transcendent. I'm Raya, and I'm the daughter.
And I'm Joe, and I'm the dad.
We are talking about small towns today and LGBTQ issues. We've got some great stories coming up. Now, of course, I'm from a small town.
We really do have very small town.
Yes, it's where I was born when you raised me, and then where I came back to when I lived there. It's a very small town.
Well, how small is it?
It's so small that the welcome to and you're leaving signs are on the same post. It's so small that every time I turn on the blender, the streetlights dim. It's so small, the town census taker just uses his fingers.
But the truth is, it really is a very small town. For example, how many kids were in your high school graduating class?
One for every card in a deck of cards, 52.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's less than that now.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's it's extremely small town. You knew everybody in your high school.
No streetlights.
No, there are some streetlights. Yeah, there really are. So, but
There are
not in front. Yes, there are. If you go on the street that we grew up in. Now, to give you an idea of how small this is.
I'm talking about stoplights.
Stoplights. Yes, there are no stoplights.
Yeah.
That's true, but there are streetlights.
There are,
However, on my street, actually, it's quite dark in front of my house. If I go walking out when it's dark, it's actually quite dark. I have to walk down a block in order to get some street light there. But the house that I'm living in right now, I could throw a stone and it would be where the house where I grew up, where we were originally living. And if I threw a stone the other direction, would be at the church that I was confirmed at. And probably 2 or 3 stone throws away is the grade school that I went to, where then my kids also went. And just in the backyard of that is the high school.
And to give you another idea, I believe there's one grocery store, and I think there's only one gas station.
And there are, of course, 3 bars. Well, 2 now. There's some drama there. There's a handful of restaurants, but most of those restaurants are closed. They're seasonal, and you might be able to get one. We used to have a Subway, but that's been closed down now. They couldn't make a go of it with the Subway, so they're all just small
That
local
was a
diners.
Subway restaurant, not a place to ride on.
Right. So it's easy to think that life in a small town is really bad. And especially if you come at this and you yourself are LGBTQ plus, or especially I think for a lot of allies, it can be really scary. Oh no, how are you doing living in a small town?
Yeah. I mean, everybody knows your business, right?
That is a legitimate concern for sure. And there are certainly places that are bad. But I want to say they're not all bad. And one of the things that I especially like about living in a small town is that you can have relationships with a lot of different people. So I remember times where, in fact, I pointed out to a friend that came to visit me, there was a poster that was up, and it was a poster for the local ambulance and like the people that run the ambulance. And I said, see this woman's picture? She used to work for my dad. She used to live a block down the street from us. Her daughter was in my sister's class. Her other daughter then ran against somebody else for the school. But I mean, there were about 12 different connections that we had with one single person. That's the level of small town that we have. And so the nice thing about that is that then if you get along with people, you can actually do very well as an LGBTQ plus person. If you don't get along with people, it can be really difficult.
What I liked about it was that when we raised you and your sister, when you were little, you could go anywhere and everybody watched out for you.
Yeah. And that is still largely the case.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice. And actually, as I have now transitioned and I've gone back to some people, some of my teachers that knew me beforehand, everyone is very supportive. Now, I am sure that there are some people that are behind closed doors, not supportive, but that's not what you do, especially in our culture. You don't go out of your way to be mean to people. unless I, was a jerk to them, then they might use that as an excuse. But in general, people have been great towards me, so that's been very good. And we want to share some stories today about other small towns that can actually put a smile on your face so that you can remember, especially as we're in a time in our country where it can feel like so much makes us feel bad. We turn on the news and there's another story that's making us feel terrible. Well, we've got some good stories for you.
Let's start with Bisbee, Arizona. Bisbee, Arizona is a small mining town with a big pride tradition. It reinvented itself as a vibrant arts community. So its LGBTQ plus story is one of local celebration growing into a community institution. Now get this. It started in 2004 as a small group of friends celebrating pride. Okay, that makes sense. And it has grown into Bisbee Pride. This is a 3-day annual event with parades and drag shows and educational events, music, and community service. It operates as a nonprofit, and it draws both locals and visitors from all over. A 3-day event. What makes it so notable is that it's a population under 6,000, which, of course, to you and me, Raya, is a big city.
Right.
And it grew its LGBTQ plus pride for 2 decades with very strong local support. I think that's really cool because that demonstrates how a small community can build inclusive culture from the ground up and not just trying to be like the big city events. This is a thing that for 3 days, it's, hey, let's go here. There's fun. There's something going on. Great.
All kinds of things. I went and took a look at their website because I thought this would be a wonderful, wonderful road trip to do sometime in the month of June. So last year, they don't have their dates posted for this year yet, but last year it was June 13th and 14th. I imagine probably in 2026, it'll be a similar weekend.
Probably the second weekend, maybe the third.
It seems so. They have a full parade, so you can go for the Pride Parade. You can actually apply to march in the Pride Parade if you would like to, if you've got a group. They've got music. They've got all kinds of fun. They've got merchandise. They've just got an amazing weekend. It has turned into, like in our small town, we have an annual event where people come to celebrate old cars. Here they're coming to celebrate pride and standing together as community. How fun is that? They've got vendors. You can volunteer. There's all kinds of tickets that you can get to go see things. Just so fun.
Hey, I got an idea.
Yeah.
If you're telling me this place goes someplace to celebrate old cars,
Yeah.
well, maybe we ought to have an event that celebrates old ladies and old men.
Can you think of any that might want to be celebrated?
Yeah, but I don't think they want to march in the parade. They probably want to ride the scooters.
Next, I want to tell you about a town in Arkansas called Eureka Springs. Now, Eureka Springs has a 7-story tall statue of Jesus with his arms outstretched. And you know what they do with this year-round? They hang pride flags from this Jesus.
Wow, that's cool.
Eureka Springs has become known as a safe haven for the LGBTQ plus community in and around the Arkansas area. So it was one of the very first towns that developed a reputation for being a place where gay and lesbian folks are welcome. It's a very small town, only about 2,200 people.
That's twice as big as our old small community.
Right. Yeah, maybe 1.5 times.
Yeah.
Well, no, probably now it is probably twice as
Much.
big.
I think so.
Yeah, but again, small enough that you can kind of get to know everybody. One of the most important things is it was the very first place where you could get married to a same-sex partner. And so one of the first couples that got married were Zeke Taylor and Dick Titus, one of the first gay couples. And then one of the first lesbian couples, or the first lesbian couple, was Jennifer Seton Rambo, who got married to Kristen Seton Rambo. That was on May 10th, 2014. They made sure that they were the first in line at the courthouse to get it done. And so Eureka Springs became known as the place where you could show up if you needed a safe haven, if you needed a place where you could belong and not feel like you're an outsider, but you don't want to be part of the big city. You don't want to have to go to New York City to find queer community or go to one of the big cities. You can go to Eureka Springs, and it's a great place where you can feel like you belong. The nice thing about it is that local officials and the faith communities have really leaned into this whole idea of welcoming everybody, welcoming all as a part of the town's identity, so that it's a real regional refuge where people can go and feel safe and feel secure and feel like they belong.
It's another one of those examples where it demonstrates how small communities can build inclusive cultures, right? Like from the ground up. It's not just trying to make a big city event. It's another one that did one of those events that became a big event, just like Bisbee, Arizona.
If you ever happen to be taking a trip to Branson, Missouri, it looks like it's only about an hour away. So it might be a great destination for you. It's just across the border, not too far at all. It would be a fun place if you're thinking, where can I go for a summer trip? If you're somewhere near there, that might be a good one to do.
Another one we're talking about is a small town in Pennsylvania, Downingtown, and they have elected a LGBTQ plus mayor.
A transgender mayor. Her name is Erica Dusso, and this is just recently. This was only a few months ago here, about 3 months ago, or back in November of 2025. She won that, and she won by a landslide, like 64 or 65% of the vote. And the nice thing about it is when you watch the interviews with her, she says, you know what, I was not running on a platform being transgender or anything related to my gender identity. I got more questions about the Christmas parade than I got about my gender identity. She's 45 years old. She's got a background in science, and she just wanted to serve the community. And she started to say, here's some things I think that we could do as a small town to make the community a more welcoming place. It's not a community that is like the first two that we talked about, where they have a large LGBTQ plus community. It's just a place where one trans woman rose up and she said, I want to make a difference. I want to help make the place better. I want to work against things like domestic violence. I want to help people in our community. And she put out her platform and she was elected. She's the very first transgender mayor in the state of Pennsylvania. Very cool.
What's even more interesting is there is also a transgender mayor in a small town in Texas that is another tiny town. It's called New Hope, Texas. It's in the northern part of Texas. And this woman became a mayor when the previous mayor died. Her name is Jess Herbst. She later came out publicly as a transgender woman while she was in office, posting a letter to all of the residents of the town's official website. Now, there were so many people that accepted her automatically because she was the same neighbor, the same public servant that all of the people go through who do transition. They're the same people. People understood that. They accepted her, and she won by a landslide.
And I think it's really important, especially the fact that she is in Texas, of all places, where we just talked about a few weeks ago about the Texas transgender bathroom bill that has been passed recently. And so to have people that are standing up and saying, this is who I am, I'm not going to hide who I am, I'm not going to go back into the closet now, I'm not running away. And just like I said, this is what gives us so much hope about small towns, is that it's easy to think that you're always going to be in danger. But it's not the way that it works at all. If you come with an attitude of being a caring neighbor and you want to love other people and you show other people respect, they're going to do the same for you. Great stories. And this really warms my heart.
Stick around. We're going to tell you about a man who was bullied when he was a kid in a small town and has come back, and why and how it worked out for him. Right after this.
Hi, I'm Andy Barrett, a Lutheran pastor and a supporter of this podcast. I see Transcendent as a ministry. I've pointed many people toward these recorded conversations full of so much heart and care and warmth as well as some of Joe's jokes, which are hands down the worst part of this podcast. But even they make me smile. I'm one of the many genuinely blessed by Transcendent, and I encourage you to join me in supporting this podcast by giving as little as $3 a month. Go to transcendent.com and click support.
One of my favorite stories as we were researching this came from an author, Robert Mizzi, who came out when he was in college as a gay man. He grew up in a small town, and he always recalled being bullied there and how everybody made fun of him when he was in high school for his gay tendencies and that sort of thing. He was not out of the closet at all. He did not tell his parents. It was not until he went off to college that he really felt comfortable being himself. And he thought originally, this is exactly where I belong. Here I am in a larger city. He went to Winnipeg, and that's where he got his degree, and he started dating and those kinds of things. But then as he got to midlife, he realized there were actually aspects of living in a big city that felt bad to him. For instance, he felt like he didn't actually feel as safe there, like he couldn't walk down the street like he could growing up beforehand, in a small town. He moved back to a small town with a population of about 5,000 people. He discovered he expected hostility. He expected that people would recognize here's a gay man and they would be really hard on him. But instead, he found neighbors that were caring. People helped him fix his car. Service techs checking in on his furnace out of concern. Most surprisingly, he found a lot of other queer people in his area. He was not alone. Just people getting together, quietly building community, not being difficult, not causing problems, just being there, being together, and loving one another. And the biggest twist is he went back to his original high school now that he was coming from a different perspective. This high school that had made him feel so small, so belittled. And he discovered that now the high school has grown. They have now instituted a GSA group called a Gender Sexuality Alliance. It used to be called the Gay Straight Alliance, but now they call them Gender Sexuality Alliance to be a little more inclusive of transgender people as well. And he found that, as he said, decency and kindness are not exclusive to big cities. This is a positive change in the culture. It's easy to think that everything is bad, but there are good people.
I want to tell you about the town that was named the second most friendly LGBTQ plus small town city in the United States, McMinnville, Oregon. Queer culture and local leadership. McMinnville is a rural town in Willamette Valley that has gained recognition for its LGBTQ plus inclusivity and cultural events. Get this, they have a thing called a Queer Wine Fest and downtown pride celebrations that go along with it. It's a big deal. A wine fest.
I don't want to go to the wine fest. That has been a family joke of ours forever since I was a kid. We've been using that joke. Yeah. That to me sounds, how fun would that be to go to a queer wine fest? Do a wine tasting, and wine tasting is a lot of the times you'll just swish it and then you spit it out. And the whole point is just to enjoy the tastes and the sounds and the smells and the everything. And among people that are supportive and are welcoming and affirming, how fun would that be? What a great destination.
Yeah, and the town's leadership, including the queer business owners and community organizers, helped shape McMinnville into an unexpectedly affirming rural hub. Their annual Pride Street Fairs, drag story hours, and downtown rainbow banners show how small towns can integrate queer culture into everyday life.
I want to talk about that a little bit, about drag queen story hours, because I think that gets a bad rap among a lot of people, that they think that it's going to be somebody dressing in drag and doing something really lewd and gross and whatever. But all it is it's somebody dressing up. There's both drag queens and drag kings, and I'm sure there probably are some drag kings that come in for story hour as well. It's just somebody wearing a different apparel and being very, very theatrical in their presentation, oftentimes very campy in how they present, very over the top. And it would be like taking, an old time movie star and having them come in. It's somebody playing a role as a way that's just very over the top. There is nothing lewd about it, and it's not a way to trans the kids. What it is a way to let kids know that lots of people are different and it's okay to be who you really are. And I think that's a great message.
So the idea here is talking about when people hear small town or rural, they often assume unsafe and unwelcoming people, or they're stuck in the past. But we have just shown you with some of the many stories we have where rural goes right. And that's wonderful. Or maybe I should say rural goes left, huh?
Maybe. But really just rural goes community.
Exactly.
It's really neither right nor left, because love is just a value of humans, and any good person should want to be a part of community. I remember, this was about 20 years ago, there was a situation related to school and with the kids' education. We were able to tour the local police station, and I talked to one of the local police officers, and he was talking about being out on duty, and I asked him a little bit about what he did, and I made some kind of joke about, I suppose you're out there to get the bad guys, and ha. He said, to be honest, most of the people that I'm dealing with are good people having a bad day.
Yeah.
And that feels like that small town. There might be good people having a bad day, but it's mostly good people. Everywhere you go, there's good people. Now, are you going to get a bad egg here and there? Of course you are. But if you approach it thinking, I love the community, I believe that people are going to be open and welcoming, you are much more likely to actually find that. And that's what I think can be great.
So this episode is not about denying harm or pretending that rural spaces are all so great and safe, but it's about telling unexpected stories of welcome and courage and change. These stories matter because, especially for LGBTQ plus folks who live in big cities, they have a wrong opinion of small towns. And you hear these stories and you realize it's different. And many people who live in big cities really are born in small towns. And there are some who stay for family and work and finances.
That's what I did.
Right.
I stayed for family.
Yep. And there are some that can't or don't or just can't want to move to the city. They just love the small town life. They're attached to it, but they're also afraid maybe. We assume nothing good can happen in a rural place. That's the big problem right there. We ease people into doing brave, affirming things. We leave LGBTQ plus youth feeling trapped and hopeless, and that's tough. We let harmful voices define the story, and that's not what it is. So when we talk about small towns, we were giving you some examples of small towns that don't fit the stereotype, because that's what it is. And the stereotype really doesn't fit anywhere. Even in places where you expect you might find it, it's not necessarily the case. You'll see visible signs of welcome, pride flags. You'll see inclusive language on small town things, on their sites, in schools. Look around. Faith communities are beginning to be much, much more quietly affirming. In the town I live in, they have a Episcopal church there that is very affirming and doing very well in this small town. And the town itself, I feel, is pride of what they are offering.
I feel that many of us in the LGBTQ plus community will get together, especially in more urban areas, and we'll say, boy, small town life is really hard and everybody hates us there, and they don't understand who we are and they judge us. And what we don't realize when we get together to do that is we are doing the exact same thing. And when I get around small town people that I call friends, what I hear over and over again is we hate when people are judging us from the city, thinking that we're small thinkers or thinking that we hate everybody, thinking that we don't have an open mind. They are doing exactly the same thing to us that they're accusing us of doing. And I think there are lots of places where, sure, you will always get ignorance. You will always have people that don't understand or don't know, but you will find that anywhere. But I think all of the time, if we approach in good faith, with a good heart, and assume that most people are good, most people want to do the right thing, and most people are kind, good-natured, good-hearted people when you get to know them, that is always going to be our best bet. Now, I don't ever want to minimize the true actual victimization stories of our LGBTQ plus brothers and sisters and siblings, but I do want to set us up so that we can assume that places that we go, that we are going to be treated with love and with dignity, and that we can live in these places without feeling like we need to hide who we are. We've moved beyond that. It's 2026. Yes, there are places where we need to be scared, but there's a lot more places where we don't need to be scared because there's good people there.
We see so many things happening in these small towns that really become welcoming and inviting. The same small towns that 20 years ago would not have shown that type of welcoming. But I can tell you, in many small towns, the elected officials, the mayors and the people who are on the city council, that type of thing, librarians, teachers, police, fire department, they all say everyone belongs here. And that's a kind of small town you want to live in. Everyone belongs here. We talked about all of the great things that some of these people are doing, the Wine Fest and the Pride Fest and the 3-day celebrations. But progress doesn't always look loud. Progress is sometimes just steady, it's relational, and it's deeply personal. And when you come to a town like that and you've been there a while, you realize that it is welcoming and you're part of that. That's a wonderful feeling and a great way to live. And for LGBTQ plus listeners, this is proof that safety and belonging are possible outside of big cities, and that permission to hope without denying reality is right there in front of you. It's wonderful. And for skeptics, I want to tell you, I'm offering you an invitation to reconsider what's possible. Change doesn't only come from the coast. It only comes from the East Coast and the West Coast. It comes throughout the United States, into rural America, where rural America or rural Canada exists just like it does everywhere else, and provides a wonderful place for you.
I always remember when I was growing up, there was a man in my town. He served on the school board and would frequently crack homophobic and transphobic jokes, and was known around. He was known as a guy that people thought was really funny and enjoyed being around, but he was not the most affirming or understanding person. And now he hosts a podcast affirming LGBTQ plus rights and relationships with his transgender daughter.
Yes.
And that is, I think, a picture of small town living, that things have changed. Not everybody is like you. Not everybody is Joe. But more and more people are becoming who you are, and that is what we are here to do, is to try to help those people along. So maybe you're somebody that you've never thought about these things. Welcome. We're glad to have you here week after week as we come every Monday morning with a message of positivity. I hope that we put a smile on your face here today as we've shared some great stories with you, and we've given you some of your own ideas of ways that you can be affirming towards other people around you.
And we encourage you to share this with other people as well, So when you do that, it really helps us. And the whole idea here is for us to get the word out. There's no risk. You can turn off this thing anytime. We hope you don't. We hope to see you back here next week. In fact, we always say, with that, we'll see you Monday.
Population of about $5,000. He was
Not $5,000. 5,000.
right.